This is a 2010 Honda SH150i. I've been using this to commute, and it's been a great bike for commuting purposes. And since I'm a complainer, I'm going to be talking to you guys about some of the downsides and the upsides of owning this thing and owning it for a long term. And I really like it, don't get me wrong, but I do have some issues with this bike. So first of all, I've had quite a few scooters over the past few years, and I do like them. And commuting on a scooter is very unlike commuting on a motorcycle like this. And a lot of motorcycle riders are unwilling to get a scooter, but I do find that scooter riding is a lot better than motorcycle riding, especially if you want to get away with things that could be viewed as illegal. And what I mean by that is that you can use the sidewalk, you can just jump curbs. Nobody cares. Really, nobody cares on a scooter. You'd have to be doing something completely aggressive to get pulled over. This thing, I've clocked the top speed at 69 miles per hour. That is not on the speedometer. I'm talking about on the GPS. So 69 miles per hour is excellent. The biggest benefit to the SH150 and the PCX by Honda, same engine, it's the 16-inch wheels. And these wheels are the same size as a older Ninja 250. 16-inch wheels. It's very rare to find on a scooter. This particular scooter looks kind of like an Italian branded scooter, and I think that's why I like it a little bit, because it does look like a Italian scooter. So this has got decent brakes. It's got the link braking that Honda usually puts on bikes. Very nice system, but the tire on the front does need some work. I have to maybe look at my head shock bearings as well. The fork seals probably need to be looked at, but styling wise it looks great. You know why? Because they really thought about it. Unfortunately, this bike was only brought to the United States for 1 year, 2010, so it's rare, and that's the downside. Getting parts for this thing is a pain in the ass. And I have a friend that's got an SH150, the air filter. He had to buy one, and it was like $75. $75 for an air filter. I decided to make my own, so I kind of spent $3, but it is not worth it. You're better off getting an air filter, and that's the downside. If you're going to get the SH150 as opposed to the PCX, I'd probably aim more towards the PCX for general maintenance. This is going to be a pain in the ass to keep over the long term just because the parts are not available. This is a 150cc engine. It's also fuel injected, which is really good. You don't need any issues like when you're starting the bike. And I've had carbureted bikes, and I do not like them. They're a pain in the ass in the winter, especially if you ride year round and then you store them outside. You go to work and then they're hard starting, coming out. No thanks. I'd rather have fuel injection. That is the thing I always look for in bikes. This is fuel injected. Sometimes I do get carb bikes if I get a good deal, but I try to avoid them. They're so much harder. Look at this. The rear passenger pegs are designed in such a way that it looks almost non-existent. There's like a curve to this, like a wave that Honda decided to do, and it looks really good. Keep in mind, I also had an Elite 110, and I do think the Elite 110 is a better bike for me because of the storage. So the downside of this bike is this. And I already have the seat open. You have a very limited amount of storage here. I mean, I have just a few things. The manual. I have a towel here because I bring some electronic equipment here for my gloves. You can fit a half helmet in here, but that's pretty much it. The reason this is so small is because the 16-inch wheels. The 16-inch wheels are the biggest pro of this bike because this bike does not handle like a scooter. It handles more like a motorcycle. It really does. It feels like a motorcycle. the smaller diameter wheels make bikes a lot more flickable and peppy. So the Honda Elite 110 that I had was a lot peppier than this. It felt about the same speed, but when you were riding it, that thing just kind of fell into corners. This does require a little bit more input, but if you're coming from a motorcycle to this, it feels very similar in handling. When you go from a motorcycle to a scooter with small wheels, it feels very different style. Over here, you have your fuel cap, which is kind of like a downside. I do wish that they put the fuel cap on the floor. I know sometimes you can't do it because they did put the battery over there. But if you're riding, for a day or two, you might strap things on the seat. Put your tent, your sleeping bag, and then you have to constantly be removing stuff because you have to get to the fuel cap. Honda did that on the NC700 as well, and I find that to be annoying. They should have put it off to the side. There's got to be a better way. The seat is also very uncomfortable. The way they made it, for some reason, you keep sliding forward. It is not a good seat. It's also very flimsy. The seat on the Elite 110 was much better, much more comfortable, more padding, felt more stable, felt like it was much higher quality. The battery is located here. There's two bolts that you would remove up here, and then this kind of comes out. I did put this USB thing here. It should have come already with the USB charger, but it doesn't, so I have to route this in a way later on. It's got a center stand, no kickstand. I do like a kickstand on a scooter, so I'm going to put one. The PCXs I've seen do have kickstand, so I like that ability. This one has no kickstart, so you don't have a backup for that. The handbrake, this is kind of like an interesting handbrake. You push this and then you hit this little lever. Very hidden and actually kind of helps deter some thefts. You do have a locking mechanism for the steering, but that's kind of useless. Somebody wants to steal it, they will. On the cockpit, you have decent mirrors. You have very good buttons. This is typical of Honda. The buttons for the horn. This is your rear brake. That's your front brake. Your starter, your kill switch. There is an issue with the Elite 110 and this. There's something wrong with the switch. So when you're starting it, you just touch it, rub it, it'll kill the engine. So there's something up with this. This one, very well designed. I really like the way Honda did this. Very professional design. It's got like this arc to it. You got the indicators up here. You have your temperature here. You have your fuel here. You have your odometer, trip, and then two buttons here. You also have an oil change light, and to reset that you have to hit this button. And I put, here's another downside, is that this bike is very closed up here with plastic. And it looks nice, looks streamlined, but what if you want to mount a GPS or a phone? You can't. So what I did is I bought this bracket from Ram Mount and I installed it on the mirror perch, and it's not a great system. The GPS does vibrate quite a bit, but I find that it does get the job done. You do have a mini windscreen that kind of just deflects wind off of you. This bike is it was definitely abused, definitely like sitting outside. It's kind of dirty, like I can't get rid of a lot of this stuff. The front here, this is a pretty decent little thing. There's two bolts on each side right there, and this front part kind of pops out, and this is where the radiator is. So if you want to look at your coolant, it's here. There's a lot of controls, fuses, all here. I wish that the fuses were in an accessible place. I don't know why they always seem to be putting things in tucked away that you need a screwdriver with you, but I don't really carry a screwdriver on a daily basis with me. I kind of wish that Honda would realize that I'm just commuting. You know, the last thing I want to do is work on a bike. That's why I bought a Honda or a Yamaha, is that I don't want to work on a bike, especially when I'm riding around. This bike is fascinating for the 16-inch wheels, but I think there's better bikes. The PCX might be a better bike, but it starts to look more like a maxi scooter. And when you have a maxi scooter, it's harder to get away with stuff because it kind of looks like a motorcycle from certain vantage points. I also don't like the color that Honda puts in these scooters. I wish it was a little bit more vibrant. I wish it was a little bit more exciting to look at than these boring red and black colors that they just seem to put on their bikes. But since I'm a big complainer about stuff, I'm always looking at things. It's a very easy bike to live with. I think if they made it for many more years here, or sold it for many more years here, this would be a better bike, but I do worry about long-term parts, you know, looking for things. Good thing is it's a Honda, so it doesn't require a lot of stuff. But I do wonder if I was to get a Honda Elite 110, a PCX, or this, I would have to get the PCX just because it sold much more than this. And the Honda Elite 110 is also just a one-year model. So that's kind of like the disadvantages and advantages of having this Honda SH150. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, post up in the comments below and I'll be sure to answer them. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.